Oh, no, I just had the volume up.
Welcome back to Truth Hurts. We expose corrupt politicians lying corporate media. I'm Jake Duesenberg, your host today. Joining me as always, MAGA Jesse. How you doing there, buddy?
No, I'm doing good. I think we got a lot of good stuff to get into. I'm very excited. So, yeah, good to be here.
We also have William replacing Bridget reading the comments today. Bridget's actually in Ireland, so we get William. That's all right, Mr. Straight-laced himself.
I'm in my favorite spot, though. I get the desk and everything.
Yeah,
so I get to read your comments. It's my favorite part.
Make sure you let us know where you're watching from. Also, if you want a comment read for sure, go ahead and click that Rumble rant. Also, make sure you like this show so more people will see it. And running the dials, as always, is Mr. Deep State himself, Dawson. How you doing, Dawson? What? No microphone? Look at that. He's got to do everything else, you know. So I don't actually fault him for that one because it's a tough job. I could definitely not do it. I got the easy job, right? I just talk, right? That's easy to do, and a little show prep. You guys do a lot of the show prep. So here's what we're gonna get on today. We're gonna have a great interview with. Well, could be a terrible interview. I have no idea.
Well,
I think it's gonna be a great interview.
Jake.
I hope I don't jinx it. No, I think it's going to be good because I really enjoyed seeing this video. A gentleman arrested for reading the Bible in a public park in Watertown, Wisconsin. His name's Marcus Schroeder. His pastor, Jason Storms, joining us in just a minute. We're also going to be talking about Trump's True Social binge this weekend, which is hilarious. Jesse wants us to discuss this, which is great. And by the way, this third indictment, insane. They actually want to put a gag order on him, so we'll discuss that. Dean Phillips talking about running for president. What the heck is going on here? This is strange. So we got to talk about that. Mitch McConnell heckled in Kentucky, and this is Jesse putting this on here. DeSantis says election not stolen.
That's what he said.
That's what he said. Okay, and then the other thing, and don't let me forget to bring this up, the mystery box. Someone sent this. This is the funniest gag gift. I love it.
Jake's just trying to cover for himself here.
Oh, is
totally
that
a gag gift.
There you go. Apparently, I'm in the gold level membership, $250 a month for the Biden-Harris 2024 election. I get the ads. I think they're on Facebook. Is that right? Instagram. I see these ads. They're hilarious. I've thought about doing it. I've got some guesses. I assume inside here I get to find out the person that did this. I got 3 guesses, so we'll cover this later in the show if it's one of you watching. Oh, good job. You probably had no idea I was going to do this live, but we're going to do it live. So let's get into this story here because religious freedom is obviously an important issue to us, one of the protected God-given rights that is protected in our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, the First Amendment. This happened in Watertown last week in Wisconsin. So as you guys can expect, Pride Month doesn't just end in June. They think basically it's Pride year all the time, right? There's no end to it. So they do a Pride event in the town square, and just like anyone else that wants to exercise the right to free speech, this young gentleman, Marcus, goes there and reads the Bible. And apparently that leads to arrest. So let's go ahead. This is on actionforliberty.com if you want to read the story. Let's scroll down. Let's watch this video. It's tweeted out. What's the What Twitter handle is that? Sorry, should I be saying X handle right now?
I think you should be. You're misgendering the social media platform.
There you go.
Or
Okay,
dead naming, I should say.
Tony at Tony X2. All right, anyhow, let's play this video. Watch this.
All the law is fulfilled in one word, even in this: you shall love your neighbor as yourself. But if you bite and devour one another, beware lest you be consumed by one another.
Hey, what are you doing?
What is the problem?
What's wrong? What are you doing? You didn't give him any warning. You just grabbed the mic.
No, this is the same one that we had in here.
Yeah, that was in there. It was not out here. What is wrong with you? What are you doing? You didn't give us any warning.
Let it go. You guys have been warned. They said they said we can speak out here on the sidewalk freely.
You can speak, but there's no amplified device.
Nobody told us that.
What are you doing? Nobody told me that.
How come there's no amplification? Hey, you guys are acting like thugs, man. You're acting like straight up thugs.
Hey, you're taking away my paper.
He has every right to be out here engaging in speech. He has every right to be out here engaging in speech. There's cars driving by with their radios playing. That's amplified sound. People are standing out here with radios. That's amplified sound. The ordinance has to do with a decibel gauge. You don't just get to pick and choose which amplification you like and which you don't. That's selective enforcement of the law. That's discrimination on the basis of speech. That's what you all just did. Content-based discrimination based on speech. Walk away, because you know you just did wrong.
All right, joining us today from our neighboring state of Wisconsin is Marcus Schroeder and his pastor Jason Storms. Guys, I watched this video. I'm watching a young man read the Bible in a public park. Obviously a protected right in the First Amendment. And all of a sudden he's getting cuffed. And basically, the way I look at it, being kind of pushed around by local authorities. Tell us what happened here, Marcus.
Yeah, so we went out to the Drag Queen Story Hour to have a public witness against the evil that they were doing there. There were grown men dressed in lingerie, dancing before the children. The children were giving them dollar bills, and so they're hosting this Drag Queen Story Hour and Drag Queen Dance Hour. And as they were doing that, I took our speaker, I took it to the sidewalk outside of the fence. They had a fenced-in area for the event, and so I was outside the fence on a public sidewalk, and I started reading from Galatians 5. And the beginning of that video is actually the beginning of me using the amplification. So we got on video me using the amplification, and then our interaction with the police there. And so as you see in the video, they didn't come up to me or give me any warning, say anything to me. They just come up and start taking the microphone from me. They arrested me, and then they essentially, after about an hour or two, released me with 2 citations, one for amplification without a permit, and the second one for resisting arrest.
Wow.
So you need a permit to just be out there in the public square and discussing important issues of the day? Is that their rationale here?
Yeah, that's what it says. But the specific code they charged me with was actually for music. From what I've heard is political and religious speech is supposed to be classified as a protected class of speech. And so some people are saying that code ought not to apply to my situation, but that's what they're charging me with.
Were you singing some dangerous hymns? I mean, come on, come clean with us. Some dangerous hymns. We just had a gentleman from Idaho, Gabe Wrench, who was arrested during COVID, and they were all singing hymns out in the parking lot, and that was too much because apparently they weren't all on their marks 6 feet apart outdoors where COVID doesn't really spread, which is insane. So Pastor Storms, is this what you saw? You were the gentleman with the camera, right? Aren't you the one recording this?
Yeah, I was filming it, and it's nice you had Gabe on. We were just with Gabe in Atlanta a few weeks ago. He's a good dude, friend of mine.
Yeah, we like him.
Yeah, we were out there. We had been out there all day, and a lot of our young people had been inside the venue, which was open to the public. And so, of course, when you invite the public to come, their free speech rights come with them. Mm-hmm. And so there was a lot of discussion, conversations happening. Our young people had gone inside to pray, to film and video some of the activities, and they were eventually started to be pushed out of the park area, and some of them were actually detained and forced out of the park, and then later released. So we moved back out to the public sidewalk outside the park area, and Marcus set up the speaker and began to read scripture. And there's probably 50 officers there on duty protecting this event, whereas Marcus said these grown men, dressed in women's lingerie, are gyrating in front of children, 3, 4, 5-year-old kids all lined up to watch this. Just absolute absurdity and just perversion. So Marcus starts to read the scriptures, and they immediately just descend on him and tell him that he was not allowed to use amplified sound. And of course, as you saw, as I said in the video, the federal courts have been very clear. You can't just restrict amplification without reasonable time, place, manner restrictions, right? So like you can't use amplification in front of somebody's house and blare it in their windows and that kind of thing. But in a public sidewalk, in a public park where cars are driving by with their windows down, blasting music, people are walking around with Bluetooth speakers, playing music. Clearly amplification is not an issue in that sort of environment. So certainly he was selected out because of the content in nature of the preaching that he was doing. And so, I would say blatant violation of his First Amendment rights.
Why do I get the feeling this pastor used to be an attorney and then he saw the Lord and went the right direction in his life? Because even from the video, I hear you. I'm like, man, he's kind of making some interesting like legal arguments. It sounds like he's got some history. Do you have a history doing this kind of stuff, or were you really a lawyer?
This wasn't our first rodeo. I was a juvenile delinquent and had run-ins with the law, and then after I became a Christian, began to do a lot of street evangelism. I was actually arrested the first time for preaching the gospel when I was 22 years old. That was 23 years ago in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, actually at a gay pride event. And a lesbian lieutenant who was there attending the festival while on duty came up and threw a bunch of us in a paddy wagon without warning. And so that was my first foray into that kind of thing. And of course, quickly had to learn what they didn't teach us in school, which is the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and then how that's been applied by the courts, and the importance of freedom of speech in the First Amendment. And so, I had to become versed in that sort of thing. And people fought, bled, and died to defend our right to speak freely. And sadly, so many Christians don't even understand their rights and allow them to be trampled on. And that's part of why we're at where we're at as a nation, right?
I mean, it's an important right, except for when there's a virus going around, then you just lose it. You can't have that during a virus. No way. So, I'm watching that video. At the very tail end of that video, I notice like a parking lot full of squad cars. And you just said, I think 50 law enforcement officers. I come from Onalaska, Wisconsin. I'm on the far western side of Wisconsin, is where I grew up. Okay. So I don't know Watertown too well. You're more central towards Milwaukee, isn't that correct?
Yep. Yeah, it's kind of almost Milwaukee suburbs. It's probably 40 minutes straight west of downtown Milwaukee.
How big?
It's
how big?
It's a small town. It's not a big city. So
what's the size?
What is Watertown? Probably 20, 30,000 people, maybe.
Okay, so big portion of the PD are there.
They had state troopers, and wasn't just Watertown police officers. So they have.
So why? What are they expecting to happen here?
Good question. I think that they knew there was a lot of opposition from the community. This thing goes on in Milwaukee, obviously routinely, but in a small, Watertown and Jefferson counties, a fairly conservative, Dodge County surrounds it. Those are fairly conservative counties. There were several local groups organizing protests, and of course they asked us to help, and we've gone to a lot of these events to share the gospel and stand against these things. And so there was probably over 200 people out there in opposition to this event from multiple groups, quite a few different churches. Of course, even a neo-Nazi group showed up there and did a little thing for a little bit. So I think it was.
I didn't even neo-Nazi groups. Were these people organized? Like I've never even seen something like that.
Yeah, you can watch the video. I posted it on my Facebook. It was actually I have no idea the real story as to how they wound up there, but the initial story that came out, like in real time as it was going on, was this was national coverage on this Nazi group. So certainly the organizers of the event were using them to discredit.
Right? My conspiracy head's already going fire, right? Now I understand, Marcus, because you have a great speech. I'm assuming this was last night at the city council, is it, or was this last week?
That was last week, Tuesday.
Okay, so you initially addressing Nazism and why it's so bad without a society that believes in a faith, in this case Jesus Christ. Why would we? Well, go ahead.
Before that, they had some LGBTQ activists that were at the city council meeting, and so they were going up there and using rhetoric, saying, trying to group our group in with the Nazis. Now, of course, I had never heard of this Nazi group, never seen them before, and they show up for 20, 30 minutes max, get the attention of the news and media, and then leave. And so with that,
did they get into black Suburbans and take off? Is that all? Go on, sorry.
I had no familiarity with this group, and all of a sudden, because they showed up for about 20, 30 minutes, all the Christians that were out there protesting were being grouped in with these Nazis and they were trying to associate us with them and say, we're on the same side, which of course our young people who were out there, we were preaching to people going into the Drag Queen Story Hour. We are also preaching the gospel to the Nazis too, and so
good.
So we were doing that, and so that's the context. Is at the city council meeting, they were trying to group us in, and so I went up there, gave that speech to try and set the record straight, show that we weren't connected, and also point out the inconsistency that you can't hold on to the fruit of the Christian worldview and deny the foundation that comes from. We can't complain about Nazis and what they're doing, while at the same time we're rebelling against God's law, just in different areas.
So you guys are clearly not Nazis, but what group are you with? Is this like a church event, or is this like some sort of separate nonprofit group? What are you guys about?
Yeah, we're most of us there were from Mercy Seat Christian Church, the local church that we go to in the area. He's one of the pastors there. So
Cool.
there are many churches out there. We got a group of young people. We call ourselves Warriors for Christ. We've gone on, done some ministry with that, just young people from different churches. And so, a lot of different churches and groups like that were out there that day.
What's interesting to me watching this video of you speaking in front of city council, do we have that clip handy, Dawson, at the mark? Let's go ahead and quickly play this here. I want people to hear what he has to say.
Discussions with LGBTQ activists. I completely understand the other side. I want to understand the other side. But drag queens twerking on kids in lingerie is unacceptable. And that's something that we have to notice as a culture. We can have our disagreements, but there comes a time when we have to understand that we are all going to stand before God one day. And we're going to have to give an account for what we have done with the children in our society, the innocent minds and the children who deserve to be protected. Thank you.
I mean, like, I look at this and I go, when did common sense leave our society? Like,
Yeah.
you can't go dress up, half nude, gyrating in front of kids. And as you guys just put it, I think I heard you right. They're encouraged to put dollar bills into the general areas of these performers. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Does someone have this on? Does someone have this on video?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's,
lots of, and this was tame compared to some of what we've seen in other cities and other states. So this is going on all over the country and just hideous.
yeah. We actually. So I don't think we've got video. I'm thinking the St. Cloud one where they encouraged kids to bring ones for these entertainers. That was the St. Cloud. Is that correct, William?
Yes, that was the St. Cloud event.
In St. Paul, Minnesota, we had a drag queen dance right in the rotunda of the Capitol, in front of legislators, in front of little children. To me, it's just like, how have people completely lost their mind where they think this is okay? It's clearly sexualized, and quite frankly, these performers, in my sense, is they're getting some kind of gratification from this, which is really, really dangerous. So this is what you guys witnessed happening at that park that day?
Yes, and we had our local Wisconsin statute. There's a statute that prohibits this type of behavior, and we were showing it to law enforcement, saying, who's going to enforce this? Who signed off on this? Who's permitting this to happen? Of course, everybody was passing the buck. We talked to aldermen, the mayor, legislators in that area before this event to try to get this thing canceled preemptively. And of course, everybody was passing the buck. Nobody wanted to take responsibility. And so, where I really place the blame, though, is in the pulpits. As a pastor, it grieves me that we have an emasculated form of Christianity that's pervasive in our society, where you have pastors and churches all over our state, all over the country, that are completely silent about this and don't think it's their responsibility to speak to this. My understanding of the scriptures and of the historic Christian faith is Christians confront injustice. Christians stand and protect and defend the weak. There's a masculine aspect to Christianity that's been largely lost in our day, where Christian men stood up and defied tyrants. They stood up and confronted injustices, and we need to revitalize that kind of masculine Christianity. It needs to start in our pulpits.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Do you put your lawyer hat back on, Jason? Do you know what that statute is in Wisconsin?
Yeah, we have it here. What is it? 944.
That's 948.
948.
0.055.
0.055.
948.055. You got it?
948.055.
055, did you say?
Yep.
Yeah.
Will you grab that and put it in the show notes so Dusk can pull it up on the screen? So, yeah. That's we're communicating on a totally different or same level here, because that's exactly where I was going with that question. In Minnesota, we had people alert local law enforcement when the St. Cloud event was happening, where they were clearly, oh, my God. I mean, it's not going to shock you guys, but They were teasing how children should be bringing dollars. I think, was it down to 4 years old? Do you remember, Jesse?
I can't remember.
It was
ridiculous.
really
Something
young.
like that.
In fact, they even had a children below a certain level got in for $15. We were thinking about crashing this event, going undercover, but it pained us to even give them money because it would be helping this awful cause. And by the way, sponsored by a lot of big corporations, this Pride thing in St. Cloud, which is terrible. Even Arctic Cat, which is insane.
So how far away were you guys?
Let me get there.
Okay.
So there was 2 Minnesota statutes, and law enforcement was going to do nothing about it. And they even say on the teaser of the pamphlet or whatever it is to promote the show, they say no touching the performers unless they want you to. And then they kind of have like some suggestive little joke about it. Haha, like unless they want you to or they welcome it. It's like, what is going on here? This is clearly wrong. And people are, we're not going to do anything about it. What were you going to say, Jesse?
Yeah, I just had a quick question for you guys. So how far away were you guys standing from, these drag queens from the event that was going on? Based on the video, it looks like you guys were fenced out. It looks like you guys were on the sidewalk. And it looks like you guys were protesting, not disrupting the event at all. So how far away were you guys from what was going on there?
Probably about 100 yards, maybe a little more than 100 yards where we were.
Wow. So yeah, that's what's interesting about it. It's amazing that they would, arrest you, considering the fact that you're saying you're 100 yards away. You guys are doing your own thing, and you're just putting your own message out there.
Yeah, they didn't want to hear it.
Wow.
So have you been formally charged, Marcus? Maybe I missed this before.
They gave me 2 citations, the one for amplification without a permit, and then the second one resisting arrest. And then they also gave me a notice saying that for the next 2 weeks, if I go on any Watertown public parks, I will be arrested on the spot. And like the officer was very firm about it, telling me I would be serving jail time, be charged with state charges if I even walk on another Watertown park for the next 2 weeks.
I'm confused. So resisting arrest is a citation?
Well, first of all, what were you doing to supposedly resist arrest? Because it looked like you complied to me.
Yeah, I was asking the officer who handcuffed me as he was walking me away. I was like, what am I being charged with? What laws have I broken? And he started by saying resisting arrest. And I asked him how. He said my muscles tensed up, which of course is another interesting thing because I wasn't even sure why I was being arrested in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
or that you were being arrested.
Right. They didn't even tell me that I was being arrested. They just handcuffed me. And so as he was walking me away, I'm like, what laws have I broken? And he tells me resisting arrest. I'm wondering why I'm being arrested in the first place. And so amplification without a permit is essentially what they charged me with as the initial reason I was being arrested. And then my muscles tensing up because he grabs my arm from behind without me expecting it. I was focusing on the officer in front of me. He grabs my arm, my muscles tensed up, he said, and that was the basis for their charge.
And the penalty here, what are we talking about?
Like $500 for resisting arrest, and then about $200 for amplification.
Usually resisting arrest means you're going to jail. So you're not formally charged; you just got a citation. But you can still contest. I assume you're contesting it, right?
Yes.
Good for you. Do you have that ready to go, Dawson? The statute. Let me pull this up. This is Wisconsin State Statute 948.055, causing a child to view or listen to sexual activity. You'll have to zoom in. It's on the top there. Yep. Whoever intentionally causes a child who has not attained 18 years of age, or an individual who the actor believes or has reason to believe has not attained 18 years of age, to view or listen to sexually explicit conduct may be penalized as provided in Subdivision 2 if the viewing or listening is for the purpose of sexually arousing or gratifying the actor, or humiliating or degrading the child or individual. That seems hard for them to prove in court, but it's like, I kind of think that's what's going on here. Because why else would you do this? I mean, they say to normalize the lifestyle, the LGBTQIA plus, 5 spirits and everyone else. But I just don't, to me, it seems like this is a clear violation. And this was brought up to law enforcement officers and they just said nothing?
Yeah, when we were talking to them about the history of drag queens, it's not like
Oh yeah,
We're
good
just
point.
talking about just a random individual here. The drag queen. Why did they select drag queens to do these story hours, right? I mean, it's kind of like a stripper, right? If you bring a stripper in to read stories to children, we know what strippers represent. We know what they're about. We know what that is, right? And so drag queens, in similar fashion, the history of drag queens are inherently tied to sexually provocative conduct, behavior, the burlesque shows and all that sort of thing. So, to say that it's not sexual is as absurd as saying that having a striptease reading children's stories would not be somehow inherently sexual. Of course it's sexual.
Yeah, and I don't think there would have any problem with that, honestly, these days, if it's just a stripper did that. But, of course, there's no big advocacy group behind strippers doing this. It's all because it's LGTB and it's pride. By the way, that's a 7 deadly sin, right? Let's go to the viewers, and let's go to the comment section here. What do we got, William?
Yeah, starting off on Rumble, Debbie Z44 says political/religious prisoner.
Well, luckily he's not going to be imprisoned, but boy,
right,
wouldn't be shocked these days, right?
Tucker91 says go to the park anyway. First Amendment covers freedom of movement. Bad Hat Harry
There's Tucker's
says,
legal advice for you.
Bad Hat Harry says fight it in court. Over on Facebook, Nathan Wiesenberg says the laws in Minnesota.
Wait, hold on. That's Senator Nathan Wiesenberg.
Yeah,
State Senator Nathan Wiesenberg. Who represents probably the best district for standing up for religious freedom.
True, very true.
Yeah.
The laws in Minnesota say you can't advertise to minors via social media, which they did. Also can't include minors in the show, which they did by asking 4-year-olds to tip. He's talking about the St. Cloud event.
Clearly, there's Q adjacent talk there. This stuff doesn't happen. He probably believes in Pizzagate and Sound of Freedom and all that crazy nonsense, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking about it. If they want to start calling us people Q adjacent, we got to call them pedophile adjacent, because that's exactly what they are. If they support these drag queens for kids, they're pedophile adjacant.
Well, it's interesting, and you guys probably don't know this, in Minnesota, the Democrats and I'm sorry if I'm getting political here, because maybe you guys don't at all. Obviously, we agree on this part of the politics, but Democrats in Minnesota changed the Minnesota Human Rights Act. They just took over a majority here. They changed the Minnesota Human Rights Act and removed the term pedophilia as a protected sexual gender. So essentially now one can construe that pedophilia, the attraction of an adult to a minor, is a sexual orientation, a legitimate sexual orientation. There's no other way to read the law, by the way. They removed the one thing in the law that said it is not a sexual orientation. So they're crazy. That's the direction I see them going. And clearly they're doing this right there. They're rubbing it in our face. No pun intended on that one. Brad Ganser says, stand strong in your faith. We got a big audience here that really supports what you're doing, Marcus. So tell us, what's the next step for you?
Just figuring out where exactly we take this legally. My main goal isn't just to get myself vindicated, but to make sure that next year Watertown doesn't have a drag queen story hour. That this story and all the influence that has come out of that this would push the city of Watertown to realize that it's unacceptable to allow grown men dressed as women to gyrate in front of children. We're not going to allow that in our city anymore. And so I've received numerous messages from Watertown residents, all of them in support of me, saying that they're there. So I would probably say that if the mayor and those in Watertown aren't going to actually take a stand against this in the future, that their political careers probably aren't going to last very long, just from the amount of support I've seen from Watertown residents on this issue.
I love it. If people want to follow this story, where do they go?
We'll be posting updates on our YouTube channel, Warriors for Christ Studios. We've got a podcast that we just started up as well. So we've got an episode up from last week, and then we'll be putting our second episode up this week. So that'll probably be the best way. I'm on social media. He's on social media as well. Facebook.
Marcus, how old are you?
19.
And what do you want to do when you grow up? We'll call it that.
I want to go into pastoral ministry.
Oh, geez, shocker on that one. Now, I'm glad you didn't take Jason's first choice of going into law. But no, they keep referring to you as a street preacher. I'm like, well, I think this guy's got some aspirations. So stay on that journey. That seems to be the right path for you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys for joining us. Go follow these people. We'll stay in contact with them, William. I mean, this is an interesting story.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like with Gabe. It's nice meeting all the Patriots from across the country. I wish we had the show going during COVID. Like, this thing would explode. We would find all the Patriots. Because that's the thing the media doesn't do is they don't want us all connected. They want to. Well, listen, I'm dead serious about this. Do you think there's a good chance, and when I say good chance, like above 50% chance, that neo-Nazi thing was like staged?
Oh yeah. Well, when you look at so I was watching some of the videos out there, and there's this one guy with like this big, like stereotypical looking Nazi flag waving it around, and I'm like, who goes to these events with a Nazi flag and starts waving it around in front of the cameras? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me if that's what you believe legitimately.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Jesse, I'm probably a dumb question to ask you, but higher than 50% chance that.
No, I haven't seen the video, so I have no idea. I can't.
But
say
just
about
knowing
that
neo-Nazis showed up at Watertown,
I mean,
Wisconsin.
it's you never really hear about neo-Nazis, but I mean, like, I went to a Trump rally one time and I saw a neo-Nazi where he was big time wearing all the gear and everything. So there's a few of them out there.
But do you think that was a legitimate neo-Nazi?
Fred, excuse me.
Something
in my throat.
God bless
there.
you.
Yeah.
You're on the good. Your microphone's right there.
Sorry. Just blew out everyone's ears.
That was a good joke, but we got a different mic for you today.
Yeah, I'm not used to that.
All right. I don't know. I'm very skeptical on that stuff. Not that there aren't idiots out there. I forgot to ask them. I wonder, have they been rated by the Southern Poverty Law Center? Because it's very important to know what they weigh in. And then, of course, if Southern Poverty Law Center considers their mission a hate group, are you looking it up? Well, you were on top of that one.
I'm going to see what the Northern Poverty Law Center
The
has
Northern
to say
Poverty
about
Law
it.
Center, do we have the Northern Poverty Law Center weighing in on this one? That's important.
Give me a minute to find their tweet about
definitely
this.
Definitely not a hate group, I'm guessing, by the Northern Poverty Law Center. Do I want to get into this yet? Do I do this reveal or do we go?
I think
over
it's a
to
good
Trump?
time.
Is this a good time? This is hilarious. They send this to you. You guys have probably seen this ad. By the way, if you want to guess who sent this, go ahead and put in the comment section who you think. I mean, I have a sense of humor, so I like it. It's hilarious. Okay, now this isn't like they actually got something from Binaires. This isn't the actual logo here. It looks like it's made to look like it. I have 3 guesses. Okay, number 1, my neighbor. Okay, they know my house. Okay, so it's probably my neighbor. That's my number 1 guess, Kurt. This would be right down your alley. Number 2 guess, Steve Schmidt. I could see you doing this. I could definitely see Steve. Number 3 is actually in the comment section. I could see Brad Ganser doing this one too. Those are my top 3 picks. I don't know. I didn't open. I was about to open this. Kirsten's like, "What is this thing?" I'm like, "Oh, that's a gag gift." I see the ads. Okay, I'm not a gold member, $250 member to the Biden-Harris 2024 campaign. Although Jesse's over there going, "I thought I knew the guy." So let's see here. This is so funny. And then now my mailman probably is like, "Oh, I hate that guy." I think they're supposed to put him at the door. Pete's Pranks is what it's called. You have been pranked. Someone sent you a prank mailer. Oh, do they really not tell you?
Clickbait.
Let's see if you... Oh, to see if they left you a message. Messages. Okay, here we go. Well, why don't you type this in, Dawson?
Okay.
Well, shoot. How am I going to find this out? Go to www.petespranks.com. I fear I'm going to have to put in my address, so I'm going to do this on my computer. So it's www.messages.petespranks.
It's asking for a name and a zip code.
Oh, that's easy. Put in Jake Duesenberg.
How do you spell that?
You don't know how to... I mean, this is the guy running the show. You'd think at some point he had...
You know what? You do have a slightly confusing name. Like when I first met you.
I'm just giving crap. It's Jake.
Got it. Okay.
D as in Delta, U, E, S, E. N as in November, B as in Bravo, ERG. Zip code is 55042. Click here to send a prank and get 10%. What?
No
It doesn't even.
message.
Are you kidding me?
Are we just wasting time now?
We are wasting time. I don't know who's. Well, what's the point? You know what? They probably have to pay more to have the Pete's pranks in there.
Does someone
Well-
in the comments just want to reveal yourself?
No, it's a secret admirer.
I'm saying. I think I could see it being. I could see it be Brad Ganser. Hilarious, pretty dang funny. I think it might be the same company that does like, congratulations on signing up for the big gay cruise or something like that, and they got a big package that's supposed to be put out there. Pretty funny.
Well, before we transition
Sure.
into another gender here, I want to read a couple of these comments. Biani Baker says, "Hey Nate, great to hear from you." Tucker says, "Northern Poverty Law Center is the best poverty law center."
A lot of people say it's the best poverty law center.
I
A lot of
think
people say it.
the Northern Poverty Law Center might be locked out of their Twitter account.
Are you
So
kidding me?
we will be staying tuned.
Well, luckily they got that big website and all those donors,
Right. And hey, if someone in the audience wants to donate to the Northern Poverty Law Center, we can probably hook you up. Brad Ganser says, "I wish it was me. I had a poker buddy send me the same thing."
Yeah. See, I knew Brad. If it wasn't Brad, Brad's in that sphere of dudes, bros, that would totally be into this kind of stuff.
Yep.
So I'm not shocked someone punked him on that one too. I'm once again neighbor first, Steve Schmidt second, Brad was third. So I'm wrong on third. So I could still be right number 1 and 2 guess.
New 2727 says it's Kurt Doubt. Brad Ganser.
If it's Kurt Dowd, he probably actually donated to him.
Yeah, Tucker said earlier, Act Blue has Jake's info.
Yeah. Well, they probably do, but not because I donated. Jesus, crazy people. Let's get into Trump. Trump went on a binge this weekend. True thing, right? God, so smart. Calling your social media platform True Social. So it's not tweeting, it's True Thing. Although, what is it now? Xing? Is that what it is? What do you call it? Do you still call it tweet?
I got to wonder if that's something else, because remember when Elon Musk named his kid that weird thing and then really it was like, oh, it's actually a chemical compound or whatever? That's got to be what X is. X isn't actually X. We're going to see some change on that. I'm calling it.
What do you mean? What do you mean X is?
Well, what's the chemical compound for X? What does X represent?
I don't think
it's something like that.
I don't think there's just an X.
Chemical compound? What do you mean?
No, he means element.
Element or something.
There's no element that's just X. I'm pretty darn certain. I know the periodic table is pretty well for a guy that's not in chemistry.
Well,
so I took 2 semesters of
I'm
chemistry
just saying,
in college.
this is too simple.
There's XE.
There's going to be more to it, and believing it's X, we're going to be silly. I got a feeling it's going to be something else.
Did I look it up? What?
Well, I heard
what
like
up?
the periodic table.
No, I didn't look that up.
Well, no, there's no.
It's
I can
called-
confirm that there's
it's
no.
not
X.
called-
Xeon is XE, so I got that right. So I think Xeon is the only one.
It's not called Xing, it's called posting.
Yeah, it's just called posting now and reposting instead of
lame.
retweeting. Yeah.
It's just still called tweet.
Musk is taking a whole lot of L's with this Twitter thing.
Well, he was doing great up until right now, I think, because the rebrand does suck.
Until right this moment.
Well, yeah. I mean, what do you have against X?
Wasn't there like a whole bunch, like,
Minnesota Farm Girl had it perfect. X is unknown in math. There you go.
I'm sorry. Whose job is it to read the comments?
If you did a little bit better job, William. It's just a hang. It's just a hang.
Well, so then
No, but
Bridget, come back from Ireland, please.
But you guys know what I mean. It's not just going to be X.
Well, at this point, it's a variable.
Elon always plays the long game. There's more to this.
At this point, it's a
4D
variable,
chess.
right? X is unknown, which means anything could be there. So
It's good. No, I like it.
It's a placeholder, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who
All
knows?
right, I'll leave the comments back to. Do we have a Rumble rant? See, if you really want to up your credentials, we're lacking any Rumble rants under your watch, William. So
Brad Ganser didn't pay for a Rumble rant, but said before Musk bought Twitter, he talked about developing an all-encompassing super app that he referred to as X.
well,
It's
and I
like
think that's what it
WeChat in
is,
China.
right? Yeah, I think. And by the way, they're doing. They're trying to do video, be a video platform, which I think what we'll do is we'll nix Facebook and we'll go. Well, no, what? You know what? Why don't they fight for it? Zuckerberg and Elon Musk, this is my great idea. You fight for our content. I don't know, maybe a cage match or something like that after you get surgery, Elon Musk.
If we're talking about live reacting to videos, that should be something we watch live here on the show. The cage match between Zuckerberg and
Well, if
Musk.
it's done by the UFC, we'll get taken down. 'Cause, yeah.
I don't think it would be. I think it'd be its own independent thing.
Dana White's making offers.
Mm-hmm.
Dana, and Dana White, which he's an interesting guy. Love him and hate him at times. He says he wants that fight, but he accused boxing of all these gimmicky fights. And, like, literally someone put together, like, just the greatest little clip of him saying, modern day boxing is just all gimmick fights. And then right away, he's like, yeah, Elon, call me. That's the biggest gimmick fight out there. All right, let's go to these true socials. Let's pull up the first one. Trump on Friday says, if you go after me, I'm coming after you. Mm-hmm. That is, I mean, my God, he's trying to kill the prosecutor here, right? Clearly, this is a violent act, right, Jesse?
Mm-hmm. Well, no, of course not. No,
You caught him zoning back in.
Yeah, he was zoning on that one.
A little bit. No, I was thinking about what he was saying. So, I mean, it's pretty nuts for him to make a statement like this. If we saw another candidate saying this, we would be taken aback and say, whoa, what is Ron DeSantis saying here? Or, anybody else. So,
I was going to say Mike Pence. Yeah,
exactly. If Mike Pence put this out there, we'd be like, what
Trump
the heck is
hacked
going
Mike
on?
Pence's account.
Yeah, right. But, I think that Trump is threatening them. And also, what we're going to see in 2024 is going to be even bigger than what we saw in 2016 because if we think that Trump was going to go after the deep state in 2016, imagine what he's going to do to these people now. They're trying to destroy him, trying to throw him in prison, trying to take away his livelihood and destroy his reputation. And what's amazing, I was telling you guys before we started that if Trump is at 43% or 45%, depending on the poll you see, in the general election right now, that means the number is only going to continue to climb because if people see that all of this is already BS, then more and more people will be exposed to the truth. And, when Trump gets back in there, it's going to be a complete overhaul of the deep state. It's going to be 4 years.
That's how you take that tweet it's basically I get back in.
It's war with the deep state, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? And you have to rightfully look at Trump's first time in office and go, he didn't really drain the swamp. That's what he said he was going to do. He didn't drain the swamp. Now you could chalk that up to it's too hard. You can't. They'll probably kill you like they did with Kennedy, right? Mm-hmm. But and me, like, I'm not this big Trump cheerleader. Like, I look at Trump, I go, well, there's some big problems keeping Anthony Fauci there, increasing the money supply, all that stuff. But they don't want him so bad they're willing to do this to him, right? 6 months ago, no ex-president had ever been criminally charged after leaving office. And Trump's now been criminally charged 3 times. Right? Like 70-some counts of criminal conduct. So 3 different indictments. We're waiting for the 4th one. Mm-hmm. They clearly don't want this guy. And this 3rd one is a ridiculous charge. I mean, it's a huge violation of First Amendment rights. Interfering with election. Like all these other ones, interfering with election, you can see the argument. But this one's like clearly interfering with election. Are you charging him for
they're
January
trying
6th now?
Claim that exactly. They've had 2.5 years that they could have been able to, prosecute. They could have brought these charges for a long time. It isn't until Trump is in the lead. It isn't until Trump is running for office. He's looking like he's going to win the primary. He's going to beat Joe Biden. It's not until now that they, come at him with these prosecutions. But, I don't think it's a good, effective strategy because, like I was saying, the people don't buy it. Even the Democrats know this is all a political witch hunt. They like it because they don't like Trump. But, everybody knows that, they're not legitimately going after him and they're only trying to hamper him down from, being able to win. But I think these charges help him.
Yeah, I think I saw a poll is like the majority of people think it's political and the majority of people also think it's justified. It's like, whoa, that's kind of scary.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Trump infamously said in the debate with Hillary Clinton, well, if I was in charge, you'd be in jail, right? Mm-hmm. And then he didn't throw her in jail. And I think that was the right idea because I think you're in a third world dictatorship when you start imprisoning your political opponents, right?
Right. And, he was investigating Hillary.
Sorry, Jesse. I'm obligated to interrupt to say that Brad Ganser has given us a $10 Rumble rant. He says, let's see Jesse and Jack Smith as the undercard for the Musk Zuckerberg
I'd take it.
Jesse was a
brawl.
collegiate wrestler.
Yeah, I'd be ready for it. I'd take on Jack Smith.
Yeah.
He's, from one Smith to another, I'd kick his ass. So yeah, bring it on. I'd be down.
Smith v. Smith.
All right, well, Rumble, if you want to see who I take on, okay? So
Yeah.
I'm curious what you think is my opponent, but yeah, you're gonna clobber Jack Smith, right?
I think I'd be okay.
I mean, you have age on him. That's the nice thing. And you just shoot a double. You take him down. He's not getting back up, right?
I'd even take him on in boxing. I'm good to go. Whatever the style, I'll take on Jack Smith.
There you go.
That's good by me.
That's very good. Okay. Now, of course, Amber. Go ahead and read Amber's
Okay,
comment.
I was about to flip.
Go ahead
I
and
can
read that.
confirm it wasn't your neighbor Kurt, although he says he wishes it was him.
Damn.
So now you're down
Steve.
to one, right?
It's Steve.
What if it's none of the above? What if it's just
Should
a
I
random
call-
supporter?
Should I try calling Steve on air?
Sure. Does he watch the show?
Probably not live. He's
should
a big
watch
fan
it.
of the show.
They have no.
Oh, I didn't bring my phone with me. Yeah, that's probably not good to put him on. I'm going to go. I bet it's Steve. If it's not one of those three, man, it could be my brother.
They have no.
If it was one of you guys, well done. Appreciate it. Wait a second. Wasn't
me.
Wasn't. No, okay.
We got a good comment from Base
Why did I
Minnesota.
not think it could be Tushy?
Could be.
I don't think he would do that.
All right.
Base Minnesota
Oh, rodeo. Oh, read that comment. Go ahead.
says, if people thought the election was rigged in 2020, how can we guarantee it won't be in 2024? Before you answer that, I do want to read Rodeo 55, who says, Jesse, I think Jake would take on Walls.
I accept right now. We'll do it. Sanctioned fight. Okay, 2 veterans. One that deployed, one that dodged
Yeah.
the deployment. Okay, we'll do this. Come on, Walls.
See, I can already see the Star Tribune headlines now. Action for Liberty, President threatens violence against Governor Walls.
Good. Let's get in the
Yeah.
headline. There we go.
All right,
Tucker
William, you can
says-
have Antitha Keith Ellison. That'll be your guy.
All right, deal.
Tucker says Walls would just dodge the fight like he dodges deployment.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
who
good.
wouldn't pay to see that? Honest to God. Well,
Who do
I don't
I-
think I should say this.
I want to fight somebody.
It would be fun. Okay.
Who do I?
So-
What political person do I get to fight?
Lee Finke.
I could take on Lee Finke.
I think he'd get beat though.
I think Finke has the height advantage and the
Height and weight.
Finke
Because
would
when you were
hold out the
when
arm.
you were in the CIA or when you
Yeah.
were starting in the CIA,
Yep.
you were like a desk jockey. You weren't like one of those covert guys.
That's not
so,
true.
Oh, it's not true. See, we got him to admit it.
So Napkin Nader 79 gave a $10 Rumble rant and said, had a good laugh today when Chris Finke decided we are, in quotes, authoritarians, and the younger generations aren't falling for
Well,
it.
I don't even know what that means because we're blocked from reading Finke, right? So is there a tweet out there?
Yeah, Finke blocked both the A4L account and my personal account. So now,
What? How do we look this up?
well, they haven't blocked the Cherry Tree Studios.
Do you have a Cherry Tree Twitter
Who-
account?
It's Finke's account specifically.
Yeah, put in their Chris's fake name Lee. Brad, you are such an asshole. Ban Brad.
Jake and Walls should race to the red. That's all.
What is this?
I am on Threads. Ugh. Don't be on Threads, anybody.
Oh, wait. I can check
This
Lee
has been
Finke's
Ellie
threads.
interacts with her mentions. Hope you enjoyed it. What is going on here? Is Lee Finke calling himself Ellie again? Wasn't he Ellie back in the day, Jesse?
Yeah, before in between Chris and Lee.
This has been Elle interacts with her mentions. Hope you...
This is a very disturbed person. What are we?
Yeah.
I'm now very curious here. What else do we got? Do you think Lee
Oh.
Finke's going to block?
Hold on. So Finke would have done like a. I'm gonna talk to people tonight at X time or whatever, and then just went, or maybe it's just
Oh, here we go.
a number of.
Oh, hold on. Go back down. No, that's not true. That's not the case. Okay, first of all, I got to read this. Nathan Mark O'Malley. I don't know who that
Oh,
is.
here, hold on a second. I might have found it. I can't tell which you're on.
Well, there's one that says
No, that is
authoritarian.
not the cause.
It's authoritarian
Yeah,
to
that's
disagree with
it.
progressivism. You are the culture, not the resistance. I'm afraid it is authoritarian to seek power through limiting the rights of others and to cheat, overturn elections in order to maintain power. This is I don't disagree with what Lee's saying here.
It's bad to
look in the
rig
mirror.
elections. Yeah.
Look in the mirror. This is a global trend in conservative movements, and it's being rejected by young people. Thank goodness. Yeah, whatever. All right, I'm not even gonna give that any more response because it's so utterly stupid.
Yeah, and Finky is right. I totally reject the idea of stolen elections. I think it's criminal, and I think it's awful.
There you go. I think it should be blonde Matt Walsh versus the regular Matt Walsh, although it might be the most boring fight.
Oh, I'd never punch Matt Walsh. Are you kidding me?
Well, I mean,
if it's in a fight, a professional fight, yeah. I could take him. But so we have
actually. Why don't you fight Ben Shapiro?
Mm-hmm.
Since
I would do that.
That's even easier. Yeah.
Yeah, he's short. He's a muscular guy though. Have you seen him flex?
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
What?
Yeah.
What do you mean he's a muscular guy?
If you're short and you flex and you have muscles, you're cheating.
Yeah, but you mean he's like toned. You're a much bigger dude.
No, but I'm not going to get into the subject right now.
Can I use this as an excuse to look up him flexing? I'm going to do it.
See, this is exactly what I didn't want to get into, Ben Shapiro flexing. I think this is really funny, guys.
What's so funny?
So President Biden is doing an exclusive interview.
Okay, all right, so toned. He's definitely toned, but I'm not saying this guy's
better shape than I expected.
His right one is a lot stronger than his left one, it looks like. You see that? That's interesting.
Well, what is interesting about that, William?
It almost looks like an injury or something. That's severe. Right?
Yeah, I'm a little shocked. It is a video. Jeez, we're on such a tangent here. Go ahead, click on the video. You got us.
Good.
Second time I got punked today.
You know what? He doesn't look as strong there. I can't tell.
I mean, listen, he's not.
Look at that. Look how. That's a sleeper build.
I thought he would. Yeah, I thought he was weaker than that. But listen, he's not intimidating. You're not intimidating anyone here.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the video with him and this enormous trans woman, or whatever they call him?
Yeah, the one that grabbed him by the neck.
Yeah, that was funny.
Go find that video.
Okay.
Yeah, this is shit on Ben Shapiro. This show is what it's becoming.
Ben Shapiro grabbed.
I don't mind Shapiro honestly that much, but he's a straight.
He's just
a neocon.
He's just irritating
me.
He's
a neocon.
Oh yeah,
I don't listen to it or watch him much, but
if I run out of if I'm on a long car trip, I run out of other podcasts, I'll listen to his. He's generally pro Ukraine war. He's pro vaccine, all this.
Pro
stuff.
vaccine.
Oh yeah, he's pro COVID vaccine. Even now, he's like, he's kind of like, well, it could be the vax, but we have to look at all the data and this. He's just like, he's not.
It up a bit. All right, let's watch this video here. This is hilarious.
I don't know where to start, so I'm just.
Pronoun. Because disrespect. Okay, forget about the disrespect. Facts don't care about your feelings. It turns out that every chromosome, every cell in Caitlyn Jenner's body is male, with the exception of some of his sperm cells.
Here you go.
It turns out that his brain structure is male. It turns out that he still has all of his male appendages. How he feels on the inside is irrelevant to the question of his biological sex.
I don't agree with that. I'm not on that train. I'm not on that train. She wants to be called she. I'm going to call her she. I just have a problem with the message and the messenger.
So let's I'm going to do two things. I want to reiterate what Zoe said, which is the bifurcation of the courage to come forward after a lifetime as a male and a certain kind of a male, versus did she deserve this award? Listen, the awards, what are award ceremonies except an opportunity to catch some eyes?
Especially the ESPN.
So, yeah, it's like ESPN, well done, ABC. Yeah. They did exactly what their job was, attract eyes. They did it. That's what award ceremonies are for. But in terms of the science behind gender dysphoria, you're very familiar with that, Zoe.
Very familiar.
It's not about the
where's the scene here?
Chromosomes within our...
We both know, but even so, you have a thing like Klinefelter's syndrome. So you don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, here we go.
You're not educated on genetics.
Here we go.
Well, no.
What are your genetics?
Zoe, I'd stay away from the genetics and back to the brain scans.
You cut that out now, or you'll go home in an ambulance.
Yeah, that seems mildly inappropriate for a political discussion.
No, I know. Well, but wait, to be fair,
I think his reaction's even funnier. It's like, that seems mildly inappropriate.
I'm impressed that he was able to get that out, though. It did seem like he was pretty intimidated, and I think that trans dude looks pretty beefy, no one's buying it, would probably destroy him. Maybe that's why he started pumping iron, if that's what it was.
Could be.
Of course, as William pointed out, one arm was bigger than the other. What do you guys say? And then we got to go to the next truth.
Well, now we got comments, but
Okay, go ahead.
No, I want to talk about this. Biden is doing an exclusive interview on Wednesday, and guess with what channel he's doing it with?
Is it Fox News?
Mm-mm. He is doing it with his favorite conversation topic. It's the Weather Channel. He's going to be talking about the weather, like he does with Hunter Biden's phone calls.
Mm-hmm. I saw
Nothing?
meme.
Really?
No, I saw. Well, I mean, your setup was terrible, but I saw a meme the other day. It was like,
it is the Weather
all
Channel.
we talked
though.
about on the phone call was whether or not I was getting paid.
Yeah, I saw that one. Apparently,
I
talking
wanted
about
to post
climate
that one. I
change.
couldn't find it.
Yeah.
I would have guessed CNN.
So Tucker says Shapiro is on the DeSantis disaster.
Yeah.
Based Minnesota says, of course, Caitlyn was courageous. He would have been murdered had he not promoted that agenda for the powers that be. Brad Ganser says, how would you go home? How would you go home? That's actually a good point. How would you go home in an ambulance?
That like went right over my head. Yeah, you don't go home in an ambulance. You go to the hospital in an ambulance. Yeah.
Hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, just a little testosterone taking over the moment, wasn't it? From that gal.
Mm-hmm.
We're in a crazy world these days.
Yeah.
All right, Donald Trump's second truth. My political opponent, crooked Joe Biden, everyone calls him crooked, tells Merrick Garland and the DOJ to indict and arrest me on bogus charges and accusations, trying desperately to steal the election, our sweet, sweet election. But that wasn't enough.
Dude, I don't know why you have to do that.
That's what he does. He has these different inflections.
No,
I know, I'm ruining the sound. I'm sorry. Sorry. It's your show. What am I doing?
Clipping my mics is all.
Exactly. He now wants well, I'm trying to do a Trump impression. It's terrible, granted, but you guys get what I'm doing here. Brad Ganser's like, can I take away that Rumble rant now? He now wants thug prosecutor deranged Jack Smith to file for a court order taking away my First Amendment rights speech. So based on yet another radical left hoax, I'll be the only politician. He puts quotations. There's so many gems in this. Politician in American history not allowed to speak. The never-ending witch hunt continues. MAGA. Your reaction, Jesse?
Yep, no, I mean, that's exactly what's going on. We've never in the history of our country seen a political opponent of, a sitting president being targeted in this way. They want to, limit Trump's speech. They want to put a gag order on him. I mean, I was telling you guys before, it's not like Trump's going to listen, even if they do. So, I almost think, go ahead, bring it on, because Trump ain't going to follow your rules anyway. So, no, I think it's absolutely nuts. And, between Jack Smith and this judge, everybody's corrupt in this whole thing. Every single one of these people involved is connected to the deep state. They're connected to Hunter Biden, or they're connected to somebody. And they all just happen to be anti-Trump, never Trumpers. And, these prosecutions are happening in D.C. Do we think Trump's going to get a fair shake in D.C.? Of course not. So we've never seen this kind of stuff happen before. I think it's a shame. And it just proves how much the swamp needs to get drained.
William, I want you to read the third one. You get to do your Trump impression here. Go ahead and pull it up.
Let
in
me
the
see
show
if I
notes.
can read it.
No, you could
Oh,
just pull it
okay.
up in the show notes. So you can read it on your thing. But yeah, I think this one's crazy. The idea that they're going to put a gag order on a presidential candidate.
Yeah. A former president, we've never, you were saying before, never in history has a president ever gotten charged with any crime ever. And now we have that exact thing happening while Trump is running for office again. It's nuts.
It is completely nuts. And I don't know, anyone looks at this and goes, this is not political. And even people that think it's political, there's a fraction of those people that say it's okay. And I just have to ask, you think this is okay? You think, first of all, are they going to put a gag order? Trump's going to ignore it. Clearly he's going to ignore it. Are they going to arrest Trump and book him for that? Is that what he's finally going to prison for? Unbelievable.
Yeah, Rodeo 55 says you cannot seriously expect DT to not make his opinion known. MAGA.
Yeah, exactly. All right, third truth that we want to read here.
Wow, it finally happened. Little Mike Pence, little man, a man who was about to be ousted as governor of Indiana until I came along and made him VP, has gone to the dark side. I never told the newly emboldened, not based on his 2% numbers, Pence, to put me above the Constitution, the document that I love, if we're being honest, or that Mike was too honest. He's delusional, and now he wants to show that he's a tough guy. I once read a major magazine article on Mike, It said that he was not a very good person, and I was surprised. But the article was right. Sad.
I think you did a better job than me on the impression.
Oh, thank you.
It just sucks that it's so long, right?
Yeah, I know.
I can feel you
I can
struggle.
feel my voice.
I know, you're struggling to get it. Oh, Trump. It's just entertaining as hell. But my favorite part of that is he calls him Governor Indiana.
Yeah, I think that's so funny.
Not Governor of Indiana.
Governor
Put that back
Indiana.
up there. Governor Indiana.
No, it's incredible how bad Mike Pence is doing,
like
and Trump takes a jab on him there with the 2% poll numbers because it's true. I mean, Mike Pence has zero support out there. It took him forever to get 40,000 donors to get into this first debate. Perry Johnson beat him to it. If Perry Johnson is able to get donations quicker than you are as the former vice president, it shows the Republican Party is just not that into him. So, and Mike Pence, of course, ever since the Tucker Carlson interview, a lot of people haven't taken him seriously ever since then. So,
but admit this to me. Isn't it more entertaining to have Mike Pence on the stage because just how pitiful he is? Like, everyone loved what happened
and also
with
just
Tucker.
the dynamics of it. I mean, to have a president and former president, former vice president in the same administration running against each other, just from a historical standpoint, it is cool to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Let me bring this to you guys. So we're debating actually doing a live watch party on the first debate. Let us know if you like that. My rationale is we wouldn't do this if Trump was in there because Trump already brings the entertainment value, right? But because these things are dry, people don't know who some of these characters are, we thought we would do a live viewing party. So you watch it, but we put some commentary and joke around. Let us know if you think that's a good idea, or you're like, no, shut up, I want to watch these assholes talk.
Yeah, that's me. I'm like, shut up.
Jesse doesn't think it's a good idea. I kind of do.
I just,
Everyone
when
else
I'm watching,
makes-
I don't want to hear other people's opinions on stuff. It's like, you just want the debate, and all
That's
of a
your
sudden
opinion.
I'm over talking
What I
Mike
care-
Pence. Nobody cares what I have to say over Mike Pence or somebody
yeah,
else.
I think most people do actually.
But you know what I mean. I'm not debating. I'm not a candidate.
But that's the point. I think Trump's doing it. Trump's already entertaining. What are we doing? We're stealing the entertainment value, right? It's like talking over.
But people like reactions. Like if Trump says something funny, people like seeing us laugh in response.
Yeah.
It feels like they're watching with someone instead of watching on their own.
All right. Do we have any comments on us doing a view party?
So we have a couple comments that I'm going to read now. Rodeo55 says, I think this is an approval of my impersonation. He says, William, good Trump try, good job. Tucker says, Pence accidentally admitted that he had the power to overturn the election. I know nothing about that. Bad Hat Harry says, as long as you have a drinking game built into the debate, I think
that's
agree.
true. It has to happen that way.
I agree. And we need a bingo card too, I think.
Yeah,
whenever,
okay. So we got, we'll definitely do it with the drinking game.
Absolutely. You want to run a live show during the debate. Agreed.
Okay.
Definitely need a drinking game.
3.
Brad Ganser is disgracing me by saying, so you need to have funny people, though, not William. Fake news. William Beck, the funniest guy I've ever met, maybe ever.
Now you're just trying too hard, William.
All right. Napkin Nader 79 says, will Trump even be there? I think he will. He has no reason to be there, though. He's so high ahead in the polls. Like, why give Doug Burgum the opportunity to go after him?
And that's the general thinking,
Right.
is you don't go to a debate if you're that high in the polls. But Trump almost could take that risk because he might improve. Because on stage, they will look so bad. Like I was like Rand Paul. I'm all in Rand Paul 2016, and then that first debate, and Rand tries to attack
and Rand
Trump.
Paul shouldn't even be on this stage.
I'm like, oh my god.
He said he's number 11 in the polls. Nobody cares. And then he called Rand Paul ugly.
He did.
So
I was just like, well, there goes Rand Paul's campaign.
Yeah.
I was like, geez. Yeah,
which is crazy because he doesn't have any of his dad's energy. Ron Paul could get that crowd going electric. If it was Ron Paul in that place instead of Rand Paul, the election would have gone a little bit differently.
I don't know, because
a lot of Ron Paul people win Trump.
Yeah, but it was different. Like Trump just protrudes this like strength, right?
Yep.
And confidence. And everyone next to him just looks weak, right? Like Jeb, it was a slaughter. That was the thing. So All right, let's go to. We got to talk about Dean Phillips for this is confusing to me. Okay, Dean Phillips. If you're not from Minnesota, you don't know who Dean Phillips is. No shocker there, right? What? If you're from Minnesota, is that what you're laughing about?
William's up getting a soda right now,
What?
but he's got his freaking mic on, and so we can hear him opening the can right now.
Did you?
Sorry.
Why can't you last a show without getting up and getting your diet soda? Look at this. He's got two at his. What is wrong with
empty.
you? What is wrong? Like,
I
seriously.
thought I could be stealthy, and then I forgot I have this thing on.
I wish you went to the bathroom. That would have been so funny. All of a sudden you hear. Oh, what movie is that from? That.
I know what you're talking about, and it's
Probably me.
really funny, but I can't remember.
It's probably many of those. Someone in the comment section will know that. There's a movie where they're in the bathroom. Oh no. Well, that's probably many things. I'm thinking of for sure. Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where Frank goes to the bathroom during the pageant.
I don't remember that one.
I think he's going to the bathroom. He's definitely behind stage or something.
That makes me think of Austin Powers. I think it was the first one with the cowboy in the bathroom too. That was
Wait, guys. No, this
Nope.
is movie talk.
No movie talk.
No
Sorry,
movie talk.
can't.
Austin Powers isn't a movie; it's an event.
It's an event. It's an experience. We got a couple comments that I got to catch up on. Brad Ganser says, if Trump is smart, he will be at the debate because he needs to attract voters that may be disenfranchised or that have left the party.
Hold on.
I think
Tom says
eventually.
Naked Gun. That's it. That's what I was thinking of.
Oh.
Naked Gun. There you go.
I kind of agree with Brad, but not these first couple of debates. You don't want to be up there with Nikki Haley and
I forgot
Doug
she was still
Burgum
running.
and,
Oh, crap.
Francis Suarez. There's just a bunch of nobodies. Maybe in that third, fourth, fifth debate, maybe Trump needs to get involved. But don't subject yourself. If you're at, Trump said on Newsmax recently, he said, I'm at 70%. If I go and do the debate, I'll bump up to 71%. So, he understands, like, there's not a huge reason for him to be there.
Did he really say that?
Yeah.
That's so Trump. Oh, man. I don't know how people can't appreciate the humor from that guy. I mean, they hate him so much they can't appreciate just the pure comedy. That's great.
Yeah.
I love how he's like, these debates are real important because then I could find out who his president is.
Yeah. That'd be interesting if you pick from them. There's a couple of interesting choices. So, yeah, but Vivek, he's not interested at all in being VP from the way it sounds. So,
And this is a hot take for you, Jake.
Oh.
This is a
Pass
hot
that
take.
Diet Coke. I need to cool down.
I don't think, I love Vivek. I would totally vote for him. I don't think he brings anything to the ticket.
He wouldn't be a good VP choice. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, one, Ramaswamy is such a complicated last name, like Trump Ramaswamy. Two, he's from Ohio, and that's already solidly in the Trump column. Three, nobody knows who this guy is. Again, he doesn't bring anything to the ticket.
Right.
Okay.
So Napkin Nader 79 says the Trump voice and Diet Coke go hand in hand. I couldn't agree more.
Sure.
I couldn't agree more.
All right, Dean Phillips for president. Let's play this first clip. Dean Phillips is on, Face the Nation, CBS Face the Nation, this last Sunday. Of course, most of us didn't watch it because it's fake corporate media, but let's go ahead and see what Dean Phillips has to say.
Is to those who are well-positioned, well-prepared, of good character and competency, they know who they are, to jump in. Because Democrats and the country need competition. It makes everything better. That's my call to them right now.
All right, so that's very consistent what he's saying. And by the way, totally agree. I'm not a Democrat, but if I was a Democrat, I'd be like, yeah, what's going on here, guys? We got the senile old man who's ruining the country. We can do better than this, right?
Yep. And I agree with him too that I think competition is a good thing. But this makes me think about is, Joe Biden as a sitting president. This is the most trouble a sitting president has been in a primary since Jimmy Carter. Because, let's think about Trump in 2020. There was basically only Bill Weld to challenge Trump in the Republican primaries, and Bill Weld got 2%. Looking at these polls with Joe Biden, it's basically like he might get 70% and lose 30%. For an incumbent president to be losing 30% or more of your own political party in a primary, that is not a good sign of things to come for him.
So Phillips is clearly not anti-establishment, and despite what he wants to run on in CD3 here in Minnesota, he's not moderate.
Mhm.
But is there like a fracturing of the Obama Biden people and Hakeem Jeffries
Right.
and House? Like, what do you think is going
Yeah,
on
maybe.
here?
And also, he almost makes it sound like he doesn't necessarily want to be the one to do it. He's saying, I'm encouraging these people know who they are to jump in this race. We need competition. So it sounds like he's maybe saying if nobody else is going to step up and do this, then he might feel like he has to do it himself. And I'm sure he just looks at it and says, these people cannot win. Joe Biden is not electable. Kamala Harris is not going to win. So he might be looking at it and just saying, from a Democrat Party perspective, why would you put up a couple of losers who might lose the election to Donald Trump if he is as scared of Donald Trump as the media wants us to be?
Is there a chance in your mind that he's looking at the interest of the U.S. House and they don't want to be attached to Biden, similar to a lot of Republicans scared that Trump was going to bring down the ticket?
Mhm.
You think that could play into this?
I mean, maybe. And he's been pretty friendly with Biden in the way that he's been talking in these interviews since. So I think that he's trying to walk a very fine line of being very friendly about things, but also trying to say that he wants to see something else, something different. And it'd be interesting to see where the actual differences are between what he would propose and what Joe Biden is doing, because I think Dean Phillips probably has voted with the Democrats and Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden probably 90 to 95% of the time. I'd be shocked if it was anything besides that. So I think it's pretty obvious that Dean Phillips is trying to make a name for himself. He probably wants to climb in these polls. He probably wants to be able to sell a book, get national recognition, and maybe he feels like if he can pressure Biden into putting him in the administration or something. I'm not exactly for sure what his play is here.
I think he wants to run for U.S. Senate. I think
Mhm.
either Tina Smith or Amy Klobuchar are gonna either not run for re-election or step down.
Mm-hmm. And
Why do you think they're stepping down? Because they're taking a cabinet position, or what?
Taking the cabinet position, running for higher office, like in the instance that the
What's the higher office? Governor?
president. So
You think
in the
this is-
situation that Biden steps down and it's a free-for-all primary.
I know, but we've
Mm-hmm. Well,
covered this
that's
on
the
the
thing,
show.
Dean
They're-
Phillips-
The Democrats are not doing that. Like, the Democrats are going to wait to the convention. They're going to have their...
Assuming that they can keep Biden like alive and walking
Yeah.
around for that long.
He'll survive.
Right,
Remember
but that's
Mark
the thing,
Dayton was great.
Dean Phillips might just want to be ahead of it because, we think a lot of the Democratic insiders are not actually going to run Biden in the end of things. So
Yeah.
Dean Phillips might be saying, I want a place in that conversation.
Oh,
and the
that's
Democrats,
true.
the Democrats won't let him in the conversation unless he runs. He might have to run against Biden in order to be able to be in that
So it's a
conversation.
power play, basically.
I think it's a
Yeah.
power play, and
That
I
makes
think
sense.
he's just trying to say, well, I want to be considered for this thing too because it obviously ain't going to be Biden. But the Democrats still contend that it will be Biden. I can't tell for sure. I think.
Now, what did you remember? Amy dropped out and endorsed Biden in 2020. So, what did she get from that deal? Right.
Well, supposedly she was going to be Attorney General, but then you
Didn't
remember
happen.
that big scandal.
Yeah. So, what is
Well,
she
that and
getting?
also he didn't want to risk. Biden didn't want to lose the Senate. Well, I guess Tim Walz would be appointing the replacement. So
Yeah.
never mind.
In
Yeah.
Minnesota's,
She got something out of it, right? We just didn't see it manifest.
well, maybe he's dropping Kamala and picking up Amy for vice president.
Well,
Who
okay,
knows?
so Dean makes some statements. You think he's got some points. Then he says this about Kamala Harris. Watch this video.
Qualified? I think she's absolutely qualified. In fact, I think she's misportrayed. I think everybody in this country should take a little bit of time and sit with people, observe them, know them before you draw conclusions. I think she is more competent and able than many people give her credit for. The job of the vice president is not an easy one.
Yeah, clearly, because Mike Pence couldn't even do the job. You like that one? Was it good?
Yep. No, and it's pretty crazy. Kamala Harris, obviously she's incompetent. Obviously she's doing a terrible job as VP. She's afraid to say anything, so she says absolutely nothing with as many words as possible. And Dean Phillips, it's the same thing with the Biden lines, that he's trying to play friendly. He's trying to do things in a way that the Democrats will still accept him in this whole deal. And, most of the Democrats, I think a majority of the Democratic Party and the voters of the party do not want to see Biden run for re-election. But they still kind of like Joe Biden. They still are friendly with Joe Biden. So Dean Phillips, if he does want to win, this might be the best strategy for him to do it. And William, I think maybe you had written the article I just saw that there's potentially a primary challenge to Dean Phillips that Melissa Lopez Franzen is thinking about running against him. Is that right?
Yeah, that is right. And Bad Hat Harry says the DNC is autocratic and doesn't like competition. Like,
Oh, no doubt.
The second you step out of line, like, you are punished within the Democratic Party. And I mean, this is just based on a rumor that we got from Blois Olson, so like take it with a grain of salt. But like, people are clearly unhappy with Dean Phillips.
Yeah,
and he's walked the party line like this whole time up until now.
Oh yeah, impeachments, everything else. Yeah, he voted 92% of the time with Ilhan Omar in 2018 to 2020. So yeah, no, it's pretty nuts.
All right, let's talk about decrepit old politicians. This is Mitch McConnell giving a speech. Was this last weekend? What was this?
Yeah, when was this? I think
it was over the weekend.
Probably.
Yeah, either over the weekend or a little bit before then.
All right, getting heckled by Republicans. Listen to this. I mean, what a professional. Just moves right on as if nothing's happening. It's so professional. I love it.
Yep.
They're coached on this. Do we have the video of him? I almost said fainting, but freezing. Was it? Look in the. Or just type it in. I want to show this, just in case you guys didn't see this. I'm assuming this is a crazy thing to say. Like, people didn't see him freezing. It's worth watching again. But literally, we got dinosaurs walking around. Oh, we just learned about this. Dianne Feinstein apparently has got a power of attorney. Her daughter, who someone brought up in their show prep, is of retirement age. So her daughter's of retirement age, 6 years old.
But she's still a senator. She doesn't have her power of attorney anymore, but she's still a senator.
Yeah.
It's crazy. All right, pull up, show us video of Mitch McConnell freezing at a press conference. Watch this. It's crazy.
This week has been good bipartisan cooperation and a string of
Are you good?
Anything else you want to say, or should we just go back to your press? Do you want to say anything else to the press?
Tucker says turtle mode. It is kind of sad.
Yeah, it's sad, but at some point we just have to be honest here and go, what the hell are we doing here? Why do we have these guys doing this?
Yeah.
Right.
No, and Mitch McConnell, he's obviously a very interesting person. He's led, a crazy life that's, gone on for decades and decades and decades, and it's really, there is interesting stuff about Mitch McConnell, but
is there? Go on. Enlighten me. I don't know about these.
No, but then of course we have his China wife, Elaine Chao, and there's all the stories about how
are you talking about the
Mitch
Trump,
and his China family,
transportations?
Transporting cocaine, cocaine Mitch. So, but just if you are a person who gets into the position of Senate Majority Leader or Senate Minority Leader for all these decades, and Mitch McConnell, he's been around since like the 80s or whatever, and he's got a whole story about how he worked his way up in Kentucky politics. He is an interesting, fascinating person, and he's like a supervillain. He's an evil guy. Almost everything he supports is not good, but there is a certain element of the fact that he's a little bit of a badass. But we the people have to be savage against these politicians. We have to tell them that your time is up. And despite the compliments I'm kind of giving Mitch McConnell right now, I agree totally with what these people are doing. And I think that it's not because of his age. It's because of the fact that he's losing his mind mentally. He's a little bit senile. And it's because his politics are so out of touch with the working people, with the regular people of our country, with the citizen class. And so considering that, he's got to go. And, Kentucky obviously can do a lot better. If they can have Rand Paul as the other senator, they can do a whole hell of a lot better than Mitch McConnell. And so I hope Mitch McConnell does retire.
Well, it's his seat. You know, how dare you challenge his seat, because it's his seat, it's not.
Yeah, and honestly, I think Thomas Massey is he's waiting in the wings, and that's why he's gone a little bit more establishment,
right?
Because Thomas Massey wants that Senate seat. It's happening.
Well, he's made a bad choice first to endorse Ron DeSantis.
Yeah,
sanctimonious.
What is the job that McConnell has right now?
Senate Minority Leader.
Senate Minority Leader.
Minority Leader, that's right.
Is that one of the ones that you're there for life once you get it?
No, he still has to get elected every 6 years,
People
like any other
elect
senator.
him?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, he wins his elections in Kentucky big time, and it was
he
really
just
interesting.
Won in 2022, right? Or is it
no
2020?
2020? Yeah, he was, because I think he was on the ballot at the same time as Trump, and
That's
he had his opponent, the Democrat who ran against him, actually Ann Coulter, supported the Democrat, and the Democrat was kind of making it sound like she was a conservative Democrat who was even open-minded to Trump. Of course, that was all a lie. She was just trying to win votes, but there was a Libertarian in that race too. I mean, if I was in Kentucky, I'd be voting the Libertarian over Mitch McConnell. But
Kentucky's weird because they got a Democrat governor. So
yeah, but if you want to see a great debate performance, it is Mitch McConnell's debate performance for the 2020 election, because he just sits there and laughs at his opponent. He makes it seem like, she's so stupid, she doesn't know what she's talking about, that he's the guy, he's been around forever, he knows how to get things done, and that he was really pushing the fact that, do you want Kentucky to be the #1 state in this country? Do you want the leader of this country to be from Kentucky? And, he was making a strong point. Amy McGrath gets in there, freshman, she can't get anything done. I can get whatever I want done. It was a good way of putting it.
Yeah, a crony. All right, last subject today. You put this on the agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Says DeSantis says election not stolen. Make your case there.
And I got the video as well. I had actually put on True Social, so I'm not the only person who agrees with this.
But I think
Tucker's
you're taking the lying corporate media's narrative here.
Oh well, maybe we should just watch it, and then
we will watch it.
We'll get into the.
I think this is fake
interpretation.
No, I think this is fake news, and I don't really care for DeSantis right now as a presidential candidate. But watch.
Are we watching all of it or 5 seconds?
Whatever the part is.
We'll tell you when to stop.
Okay.
Yes or no, did Donald Trump lose the 2020 election?
Whoever puts their hand on the Bible on January 20th every 4 years is the winner.
Okay, but respectfully, you did not clearly answer that question. And if you can't give a yes or no on whether or not Trump lost, then how can...
Of course he lost.
Trump lost the 2020 election.
Of course.
Okay.
Joe Biden's the president.
Oof. Okay, that's good.
Okay, but
so you're saying Joe Biden's not the president?
I'm not saying
is
that.
Is Trump pulling the strings behind the scenes?
No, he's saying, of course, Trump lost. That's what he said. Of course, Trump lost.
So the election was stolen
Trump
from him.
Lost. It's very obvious Trump lost. He's not in the presidency.
Okay, so I think you guys are giving him a very generous interpretation on his words
I
here.
think you're taking
and I'm
the
taking his words for
media.
exactly what they are. He's saying, you guys are saying we can read between the lines and, guess what he's saying. No, not at all.
It's very clear what he said.
Really?
And,
so he's saying the election was stolen? Is that what he's saying? Or did he say Trump lost?
He
Which
said
one
many
is it?
times that there were problems with the election.
Well, yeah,
many
he's
times.
saying many times in the past, but now what is he saying? He said, "Of course, Trump lost."
That's you're falling for the media's trick here.
Look how they cut
this
it.
This is DeSantis' words.
Why
not
didn't you
mine.
show us the full interview, Jesse?
I don't
What
have the
happened
full
between
interview.
the clips? You haven't watched the full interview.
Okay, well,
regardless,
are
even if you take
we
what he
supposed to
said-
watch an entire hour of something? Come on.
If you're coming to the show and presenting something.
No, I don't mind it. I don't mind it
you
at
just
all.
saw him say right there. You're using the left-wing media's narrative.
No, because
they're doing this to cause division
Okay.
in the Republican ranks. That's clearly what they're doing.
I don't mind causing the division because DeSantis also said that Trump ideas on election fraud, quote, did not prove to be true and said they were unsubstantiated. So he's saying that the Trump claims of the election fraud, unsubstantiated, not true. So you guys are saying,
When did he say that?
No, let's give a very generous interpretation. DeSantis is with us on this issue, and, he's just saying that Biden got sworn in. If we're just saying Biden got sworn in, anybody can freaking say that.
he got a plurality of the electors.
Yeah,
that's how we elect
the
the president.
constitutional process.
He won a majority of the electors because of the fraudulent election we held.
Well, I
Right,
think you're
but-
making a great point there.
Right.
But he
right.
lost
And why isn't
we
DeSantis
elected.
making that point then?
You
guys are filling in those blanks.
I think that's what he was
before,
alluding
not
to
now.
in
That's
the
the thing is
interview,
the
but we
media's
didn't
trying
see
to
the
get
full thing.
They're trying to trap him on this so they can divide it, and I don't think he's saying that.
No, I think he is basically, he's letting the cat out of the bag of what he really believes, because you guys are right. In the past, he used to say that, I think it was the day after the election, he was standing with Trump. He was saying that we need to investigate this stuff. We need to, hold these electoral college votes back until we get a true investigation and everything that went on in these states. That was DeSantis' opinion then. Now it doesn't seem to be the case. And he's only going to go further and further to the left on election fraud. And that's just what we're going to see from Ron DeSantis.
So Faith92 says he was cut off in that media clip, which, again, is my whole argument here. We watched 2 separate clips that were 15, 20 seconds each. I want to know the full context of that conversation. You didn't watch the full interview before you made this claim?
William, you're a real annoying guy.
No.
All right,
I gotta give that one to William on there because I allege you're just taking the fake news.
Here's the thing: you guys haven't freaking seen it either. So
I have. I did.
You're sitting here trying to hold me to a standard.
I watched
you
that
can't.
clip.
You're the one making the claim.
Yeah, I use the clips, and you're saying that there's more context to it. You have the burden of proof.
No,
you have the
you're
burden
the one
of proof.
making the claim.
No, you're the one who's
is
saying
on
that there's more context to
we
it.
Don't live
I'm
in a
not
backwards
understanding what
judicial
DeSantis
system.
is saying.
If you're
of course
making the claim against a candidate, you need to back up your claim.
DeSantis is the one saying that Trump lost. And, you like to go back and forth, William, so that nobody actually knows what you believe. So, it's like, are you a DeSantis guy?
No,
what do you believe? Nobody knows. You're just like DeSantis. You flip-flop. Nobody knows what you think. You say the election was stolen, now it isn't. Nobody knows. So let's just hope for the best.
If you're done rambling, I'd like to make my position clear.
Do you need another Diet Coke before or a Coke Zero?
I probably do. I probably
really
do for this
don't
one.
tell me you're out of that.
I'm not yet. But I am hesitantly supporting DeSantis as much stronger in the DeSantis camp before we were here because I do like Trump, and the fact that they're coming after him so strongly makes me want to support him.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a very reasonable position to have. At least 30% of the party feels the same way. I'm sure more people have gone from the DeSantis or quote unquote anti-Trump camp over to the Trump camp. So everyone at one point has kind of felt this way.
Tucker says we never had a trial to determine if Trump's claims were legit, and we were discussing this in the pre-show.
The evidence wasn't allowed to be submitted.
Yeah, I know, and this is the thing. So Trump now being indicted, right? He's trying to overthrow the outcome of the election. What was Trump trying to do? Turn over the legislature. Now think, if you're pro-democracy, as they say in the uniparty circles, if you're pro-democracy and you have problems with an election, sorry, I know the media had their narrative from day one, but we can't listen to the media. We need to look at this election. Everyone saw those results at 3 a.m. That's bizarre, right? So if you're going to adjudicate election, well, first of all, it's not the president that just makes the decision. It can't be the president's Department of Justice that makes the decision, right? It's not even really good if it's the Supreme Court of the United States, 9 unelected judges. The best thing to do is put it back to the body of the people in the states that they came from. So what's Trump asking for Pence to do? Take it back to the state legislatures.
Yeah.
That's the democratic process. So I agree with Tucker. We never had trial. That's where the trial needed to happen, not in front of some unelected judges.
Right, it wasn't to overturn the election. It was to delay the certification.
Correct, yes, to look at it because everyone knows that was a bizarre. By the way, did you guys see Joe Rogan giving a hat tip to the when he was on with Patrick Bet-David? Did you guys watch this podcast?
I watched it, but what are you talking about?
He gave a hat tip to election fraud, talking about Kerry Lake's
numbers,
right?
That's right.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's obviously elections aren't zero fraud, and it's not 100% fraud, so how do we know where it's at? In that election, everyone was watching that election. The left's not going to admit this because and by the way, they have no credibility on this issue. They told us about Russia for 3 years. That's all they talked about. So they have no credibility on this. By the way, the left always claims election fraud until it's the most legitimate election ever held. In COVID, 80% of people voting, no signatures on absentee ballots. Oh, this is the most obviously well-run election ever. Whatever, you guys are such liars. Everyone saw the discrepancies with that election. So let's look into it, and then the left-wing media always goes, oh, well, this was thrown out of the courts. But those were like technicalities, like there wasn't standing or something like that. So we didn't really adjudicate that election, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, it's a dying issue now because we're in the 2024 election.
Real quick on that point, someone had a good comment earlier. I don't remember what it exactly said, but I believe the election was stolen, by the way, but I don't think Trump has put forth a good alternative. If he believes the election was stolen, why is he, like, what's he going to do differently this election to ensure that's not stolen from him again? I don't think he's laid that out, but
well, you know, I mean, there's nothing, you know, I mean, if you don't have political power, you can't change election laws. You can't change the things that are corrupt. You can't change, you know, the Dominion ballot machines. And I think the biggest way that we can, you know, stop it is by being election judges, documenting fraud, exposing fraud, because if we expose it, then we have a chance to fight it.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's the thing. You're right that fraud's going to happen regardless.
It doesn't matter. If the fraud is from I don't buy the Dominion thing, by the way. I think there is stealing with paper ballots, but I'm not convinced by the Dominion thing. But if that...
The Dominion thing's so easy, though. And by the way, we shouldn't say Dominion, just any kind of voting machine.
Right.
So easy.
Yeah.
They did a movie on this. This is what bothers me. Man of the Year, I think it's called. Robin Williams, he's a comedian. Basically, he's playing Jon Stewart, and he runs for presidency.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like last in the poll, three-way race, and wins because there was a problem with the software, and it delivered the victory to him as a third-party candidate. And it wasn't nefarious until they were tried covering up because they didn't want their, you know, contracts and their money to go away. No, because they would have to admit that the software had big glitches. But that's true. It's like it would be so easy to fool that, you know? What does Being of Light say here?
Yeah, I thought this was a great question. Were election laws changed without the state legislature in Minnesota? I have meant to dig into that, but I haven't.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Steve Simon just changed it. I think, what were the changes in Minnesota? Certainly, you didn't need a witness signature on absentee ballots. That was one of them, right? Wish I knew off the top of my head some of the other ones.
Yeah.
But these happen in a lot of important states.
The mail-in deadline, I thought that was changed too.
I think that was.
That sounds familiar as well.
Yeah, there are a couple of them that were just kind of done, I think, with the help of Walz, but certainly without the legislature. And I think that's your best argument in states like Pennsylvania, where the Secretary of State did the exact same thing. And I don't remember why that case was tossed out, but I think that one went to the Supreme Court.
All right, let's end there. We don't know our Thursday show because we got two different things that we're weighing. So we're gonna bring you a good show on Thursday. I'll put it that way. The two things that we are weighing which one we'll do, they're both good. So Thursday at 1:00 right here.
Exposing Ron DeSantis or exposing Nikki Haley. Those are the two things we're weighing out right now. So,
you know, I mean, I don't know if Williams still even really cares about DeSantis. DeSantis is just, it's bad. I would have thought this was going to happen.
Yeah, well, you know he's running a terrible campaign, right?
Yeah, I really like him as governor of Florida, and even now he's doing great stuff with like classical education in Florida schools. But he's just running a terrible campaign. Like it doesn't even look like he's competitive when he as a candidate gets out there. He doesn't have good stump speeches. He's not energetic. So I mean, maybe things will change when he gets on the debate stage. But I don't know.
And Tucker sent me an article earlier on True Social that showed that he's changing his DeSantis is changing his campaign leadership to his current chief of staff of his governor office. So we'll see if any kind of changes come with that.
All right. Well, thank you guys, all the people that did a Rumble rant funding Williams' addiction to diet drinks. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. We missed you, K-Wall and T-Wall, today. We'll be back on Thursday at 1:00 right here on Rumble, YouTube, and Facebook. Take care.